The morning, no one noticed, except him's sun hadn't fully risen yet. A quiet gray light fell across the studio lot, soft and sleepy. Everything still smelled like last night's rain, and the air felt fresh but cold. The crew moved slowly, still holding on to sleep, clutching warm coffee cups and mumbling greetings to one another. But not for Anna. She walked onto set like a shadow, eyes cast low, shoulders pulled in tight, wrapped in a beige hoodie much. Too big for her? No one said anything. No one noticed. Not really. They were too busy with props, cameras, call sheets, breakfast burritos. But he noticed, Keanu noticed. He was already there, earlier than he needed to be. Standing near the makeup van, with his hands in his coat pockets, talking quietly to a grip about the new rig. But his eyes were on her, not in a loud or obvious way, just watching. With concern, with patience, like he was trying to read something invisible written on her skin. Anna's steps slowed as she reached her trailer. She fumbled for the key, dropping it once, then twice. Her hands were trembling, not from cold. Not entirely. She finally got the door open and disappeared inside without looking up. Keanu didn't move. Not yet. He waited a moment, then nodded slightly to himself. He stepped away from the conversation and walked to the side of her trailer. He didn't knock. He didn't say anything. He just stood there, leaning softly against the outer wall, eyes down like a silent guard. Inside, Anna sat on the small couch, hands clasped in her lap, staring at the floor. Her phone buzzed. She didn't answer. She'd been up all night, thinking, or not thinking, just feeling heavy. Something had broken back home. A call from Madrid. Her younger brother was in the hospital, something with his heart. Sudden, unexpected. Her mother had cried over the phone, asking if Anna could come back. But she couldn't. She was in the middle of filming. Contracts, schedules. The producers were already nervous about delays, so she told her mother she would come soon. Maybe next week. But she felt like a terrible daughter, a worse sister. Her body was here, but her heart was across the ocean. And it showed. The spark in her eyes was missing. Her smile felt like a lie. Minutes passed, maybe hours. She didn't. No, but then, a soft knock, not on the door. Just the lightest tap on the trailer's outer wall. Then silence. She got up, opened the door slowly. Keanu was there, sitting on the steps, not facing her. Just staring at the lot, legs stretched out, arms resting loosely on his knees. He didn't turn around. Didn't force her to talk. Anna sat beside him. Neither said anything for a long while. But the silence felt safe, soft. She didn't cry. Not yet. She just breathed. For the first time in hours, she remembered how, finally, Keanu spoke. Just one sentence? You don't have to go through it alone? She turned her head slightly. His eyes were kind, steady, not asking for her pain, just offering to hold some of it. Anna looked down at her hands. My brother, he's sick. Spain. My mom's scared. Keanu nodded, not surprised. It's like he already knew something was wrong. What are you going to do? Her voice cracked. I don't know. I can't just leave. But staying feels wrong. Keanu leaned back, resting against the trailer wall. Sometimes the right thing isn't about what makes sense. It's about what matters most. Anna blinked. She had heard so many people give advice in the last 24 hours. Agents, friends, doctors. But this was different. His voice wasn't trying to fix things. It was just there, holding space. I wish I could split myself in two, she whispered. Keanu smiled gently. You already did. That's why you feel like you're disappearing. Anna laughed just a little. It surprised her. She hadn't laughed in 2 days. A silence settled again, warm this time. Healing, then a voice called out across the lot. Assistant director, checking if Keanu was needed for rehearsal. He stood slowly, dusting his jeans, but didn't walk away. Not yet. I'll be right here, he said softly. You do what you need, even if it means doing nothing. He walked toward set, but glanced back once. Anna didn't go inside. She stayed on the steps, breathing in the air. She felt like she could make a choice now, not from panic, not from pressure, but from clarity. She picked up her phone and called her mom. "Tell Javi I'm coming. I'll be there tomorrow." Her mother cried again, but this time from relief. The sun rose higher. Light spilled over the lot. But Keanu would, and he didn't need anyone to thank him. Just waited by her trailer that morning, all day if needed, till she was ready, and that made all the difference. Anna was gone. Her trailer stood quiet, locked. The little paper tag with her name fluttered in the breeze, untouched. The crew arrived as usual, but something felt off. People whispered. Someone asked if she had the flu. Another guessed it was exhaustion. No one really knew, except Keanu. He stood near the edge of the set, a folded piece of paper in his hand. It was short, just 3 sentences, written in careful, slanted handwriting. "Gone home to be with my family. Thank you for sitting with me yesterday. That meant more than I can say." He folded it again and tucked it into his jacket pocket. He didn't say much that day, didn't need to. The director quietly rearranged the schedule. Anna's scenes were postponed. No one argued. Maybe it was because Keanu didn't push back. Maybe it was because kindness makes people think twice about their own pace. In Madrid, Anna sat by her brother's bedside. Machines beeped steadily. Fallen asleep in a plastic chair, holding a rosary. He was so small beneath the hospital blankets, only 17. A soccer injury, they said. Routine at first, then complications. Inflammation. His heart had struggled to keep up. She hadn't realized. How much of her world rested on his smile? He opened his eyes slowly, Anna. His voice was weak, dry. She took his hand gently. "I'm here. You can rest now." He smiled. "I knew you'd come." For the first time in days, she cried. From fear, but from relief. Meanwhile, back on set, Keanu sat under a large shade umbrella during a long lighting setup. Someone brought him coffee. He thanked them, then opened a notebook. Not a script, not notes, just blank pages. He began to write slowly. Memories. Small things. The kind of moments most people forget. Like the way Anna's fingers tapped rhythmically. Or how she always whispered the first line of her scene before cameras rolled, like a quiet prayer. Or how her laughter had the power to light up the dullest day. He wasn't writing for a movie. Or for her, it was just something he did. To remember. To remind himself that being present mattered. Days passed, Anna texted updates when she could. Keanu always replied, short but real. "How's Javi? Stronger today." He smiled at the nurses. "Good. Tell him the crew misses him more than he knows." The stars above blinked faintly through the LA haze. He looked up at them, remembering something his mother used to say. Sometimes the people. He hoped that was true. 2 weeks later, Anna came back. Early morning again. Same hoodie, same trailer. But her walk was different. Lighter. Not all the pain was gone, but something in her had shifted. She had cried, prayed, held her brother's hand through hard nights, and now she was here, not out of duty. She wanted to be. She stepped onto set quietly, and there he was, Keanu, sitting near the lights, speaking with the director. He saw her before anyone else did. His eyes softened. He stood slowly, walked over and simply said, "Welcome back." Anna nodded. "Thank you for waiting." He smiled. Always. No big reunion. No dramatic hug. Something in Anna's performance had changed. Her voice was more grounded, her pauses more meaningful. She was drawing from something deeper now. The kind of depth that only comes from facing real pain. And returning stronger, Keanu noticed. He didn't say it out loud, but between takes, he'd glance at her and give the slightest nod, like a silent way of saying, "I see you." The director started to say something, but Keanu raised a hand gently. Let her finish. Anna took a breath, and another. She wiped her eyes, but stayed in the moment. She delivered her final line, voice trembling. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. The director whispered, "Cut." No one moved, then slow applause. Anna looked down, overwhelmed. Not for show, not to steal attention, just to be there. It's like always. He handed her a napkin from the table prop and whispered with a small smile, "You okay?" She nodded. That scene wasn't. Outside, as they walked back toward their trailers under the night sky, Anna stopped suddenly. "Do you always stay so quiet when someone's hurting?" Keanu looked ahead, thoughtful. "Not always. It's just when words won't help." She nodded. Double quotes, I think. That silence saved me. Quiet sincerity in his voice. Then I'm glad I stayed silent. They kept walking. No more words were needed. The scene that wasn't in the script's sun was already up when Anna stepped onto set the next morning. This time, she carried her coffee in one hand and a folded photo in the other. They were both smiling, wind in their hair, her arm wrapped protectively around his shoulders. She tucked the photo into her trailer mirror. Not for display. Just to remind herself why she was here. The studio had picked up speed again. Scenes were rolling. New scripts were printed. Quiet weeks without her had passed. But something had changed. Not just in Anna, in the whole set. It was slower now, more intentional. People spoke more softly, listened better. It wasn't loud kindness. It was quiet respect. And many believed that came from one man's way of being. Keanu. He greeted everyone like an equal. Helped carry a sandbag without being asked. Once, when a light stand fell over, he was the first to catch it, even though he wasn't in the shot. No one asked him to. He just noticed, and acted. Anna noticed too. That afternoon they were filming a scene where their characters, lovers torn by war, sat in silence after a great loss. The lines were sparse. The emotion had to live in the pauses. Anna felt nervous. The kind that crawled under the skin and made the air feel heavy. Her hands were cold. She whispered to herself, "You've done harder things." Just then she felt something being placed in her hand, small folded tissue. She turned. It was Keanu. "You might need this," he said gently. Anna laughed softly. "You think I'm going to cry again?" Keanu smiled. "No. I think you're going to feel something real, and that's rare." They walked to their marks. Cameras rolled. Something shifted. The moment the director called action, the silence between them was no longer acting. It was full of unspoken pain. Care of trust. Anna looked into Keanu's eyes, not her character's, but Keanu's, and for a second, she forgot about the cameras. She remembered how he sat outside her trailer for hours. How he didn't ask questions. How he just waited. A tear rolled down her cheek. Keanu reached over slowly and took her hand. The script didn't call for it, but no one yelled cut. Sat there, hands intertwined, saying nothing. And somehow, that said everything. When the director finally ended the take, the room was silent. Someone whispered that wasn't in the script. Another crew member replied quietly, "It didn't need to be." Anna pulled her hand back slowly, smiling. "You always know what people need, don't you?" Keanu shrugged. "I just try to notice." Anna stayed behind in her trailer. She looked in the mirror, staring at the photo of her and Javi. She pulled out her phone and typed a message. "He's still teaching me things, even from across the ocean." Javi replied almost instantly, like, "What?" Anna stared at the screen, then typed slowly, "How to be present, how to listen, how to know when to speak and when not to." Keanu knocked gently before stepping in with 2 takeout containers. "You forgot lunch," he said. Anna smiled. "I was waiting for the right company." It wasn't fancy, but it felt like a real moment. A shared breath in a world that often moved too fast. "You know," Anna said after a long pause, "people always talk about the loudest person in the room. The one with the best stories, the big energy." Keanu raised an eyebrow, smiling. "But I think the quietest person in the room often sees the most." He nodded. "Maybe we're just too quiet to be heard sometimes." Anna leaned back against the trailer wall. "But when you do speak, people listen." Keanu looked thoughtful. "Maybe because silence makes you hear yourself first." That evening, the cast had to film a high-emotion argument scene, yelling, slamming doors. Anna felt ready. But when the scene began, something unexpected happened. As she delivered her lines, Keanu suddenly stopped speaking. He dropped his character's script line mid-sentence and just looked at her. It threw everyone off. The director said nothing. The crew froze. Anna stepped closer, confused. "Aren't you going to say your line?" Keanu tilted his head slightly.
At this time.
She blinked. "Why not?" He leaned forward and whispered, "Because your silence is louder than anything I could say." And for the third time that week, the room held its breath. "Cut," the director clapped once. "Keep it, we're not changing a thing," Anna stared at. "Keanu, you just rewrote the scene without saying a word." He smiled, calm as always. "No, you did. I just followed." And that's when she realized something. This whole time she'd been thinking she needed to perform, to impress, to be strong. But strength wasn't just loud speeches or perfect lines. Sometimes strength was found in the pause. In the space where two people trusted each other enough to not fill the silence. It was in the waiting, and Keanu had waited by her trailer all day simply because he knew that silence could be a gift. The day she almost walked off Seth, day started with tension in the air. Not from weather, not from any delay, but from something unspoken. Anna arrived before sunrise, hoodie pulled up, face tired. Her eyes were a little red, and her steps slower than usual. Keanu noticed right away. He was already there, standing beside the makeup truck with a quiet coffee in hand. He didn't wave, didn't rush to her, but his eyes followed her until she disappeared into her trailer. Inside, Anna sat on the edge of the couch. Her script, crumpled in her hand. There had been a call last night. Her brother's condition had worsened briefly. Not critical, but enough to make her stomach twist. Her mother told her not to worry, told her to stay focused, that everything was under control. But Anna knew better. She could hear the fear behind her mother's words. She hated being far away again. Then came the pressure from the studio. They were behind schedule. Investors were growing impatient. The producers had warned her that if any more delays happened, her role might be cut down. Nothing was said directly, but she could feel it. One of the younger producers had even said something careless the day before: "If she's going to cry through every scene, maybe we cast someone who won't." He didn't know Keanu had overheard. He didn't expect Keanu to walk up, look him in the eyes, and say, "Maybe you should try leading with empathy instead." Keanu didn't raise his voice. He never needed to, but Anna had heard about it. The thought of someone defending her without her asking, that gave her strength. Until this morning, she felt done. Done with the whispers, done with the pressure, done with pretending she was okay when she wasn't. She looked at her phone, hovered her finger over the screen. She had already typed a message to her agent. "I can't do this anymore. I'm leaving the set." She didn't press send outside. Keanu knocked softly on her trailer door. She didn't answer. He waited. After a minute, he spoke gently through the door. "You don't have to come out. Just know I'm still here." Anna sat frozen. He wasn't asking her to be strong. He wasn't asking her to explain. He was just there. 20 minutes passed. Then 40. Anna opened the door slowly. Her eyes met his. He didn't ask anything. She stepped out and said one word: "Walk." He nodded. They left the set quietly, no one stopping them. They walked through the quiet backlot, past empty trailers, old props, quiet corners of Hollywood no one really looked at. Anna spoke first. "They said I'm becoming a problem. Too emotional, too slow." Keanu didn't respond right away. He let her words settle. "Do you believe that?" he asked softly. She shook her head. "No, but I'm tired of fighting." Keanu paused beside an old fence. Vines had started to grow up the side. He leaned gently against it. "You're not a problem," he said. "You're a person, a sister, a daughter, a woman with grief and fire inside her. They only see what fits into their schedule." "But I see you." Anna looked down. Her voice cracked. "I was going to quit today." Keanu turned toward her eyes. "Calm, would that have brought you peace?" She wiped a tear away. "No, just escape." He stepped closer. Then don't quit. Pause. Breathe. Stand still if you need. But don't walk away from something you still believe in. Anna stared at the ground. Keanu took something from his pocket and handed it to her. A folded paper. It's the same one she had written weeks ago. The note she left for him when she flew to Madrid. Thank you for sitting with me yesterday. That meant more than I can say. Anna stared at it, confused. You kept this? Keanu nodded, because it reminded me that small kindnesses matter, even if no one else notices. She held the paper close, and for the first time that morning she didn't feel like leaving anymore. Later they returned to set. The crew barely noticed they had been gone. But something in Anna's walk was different again. Not heavy. Not forced. Steady. They filmed a key scene that day. The one where her character breaks down. Not because of something dramatic, but because of something quiet, something small. The director whispered to her before the cameras rolled, "Just be real." She was. Her tears weren't for the character. They were for herself, for the thing she carried, for the brother who was still healing, for the pressure she kept smiling through. And when the scene ended, the crew didn't clap. They stood still, moved silent, after the shoot. Keanu walked her back to her trailer. Anna turned before going inside. You didn't say much today, she said. He smiled. Some days people don't need advice. They just need to be seen. Anna looked at him, really looked. Thank you for seeing me. He nodded. Always. And this time, when she stepped inside, she didn't feel like she was carrying everything alone. A storm, a letter, and the truth behind the smile thought weak. A storm rolled in over Los Angeles. Gray skies hovered above the studio lot, and rain fell like a soft curtain over the world. Everything slowed down. Shoots were paused. Outdoor scenes canceled. People complained about delays, but no one rushed. Even the air felt different, heavier, quieter. Anna didn't mind the storm. In fact, it suited her. She sat inside her trailer, lights dimmed, a warm blanket wrapped around her shoulders. The rain tapping on the roof felt like a gentle reminder that not everything needed to be fixed right away. Sometimes things just needed time. That morning, Keanu had slipped a note under her door. He didn't knock, didn't wait, just left it there. Anna picked it up slowly, unfolded the soft paper. His handwriting was neat, thoughtful, simple. I once lost someone I loved and thought I'd never be whole again. I didn't talk about it for years. The silence became a wall. I just want you to know. You don't have to carry silence like I did. I'm here if you ever want to speak. Anna's breath caught. She hadn't known, not fully. Everyone had heard stories about Keanu's past, about grief, loss, heartbreak. But the way he lived, so kind, so calm, made people forget he had once walked through darkness. Two, she folded the letter, held it against her chest. The next day, the clouds cleared just enough for indoor scenes to resume. The crew moved quickly, trying to catch up. Makeup artists rushed, lighting teams adjusted positions, and scripts were rechecked, but Anna wasn't rushed, not anymore. Her eyes were steady, her voice soft but clear in one scene. Her character was meant to confront a man who had betrayed her trust. The script called for anger, shouting, drama, but Anna chose something different. Stillness. Her voice didn't rise. It lowered. Every line was said like a secret being shared, not yelled, but confessed. It stopped everyone in their tracks. The director watched, stunned. Keanu stood just off camera, arms crossed, watching closely. His expression didn't change, but his eyes said everything. He was proud after the scene. As the lights dimmed and the crew reset for the next shot, Anna walked past Keanu and whispered, I didn't shout because shouting isn't always how pain speaks. He nodded. You're learning to let it whisper, Anna turned back to him. Because of you. Later that afternoon, the storm returned. Heavier this time. Thunder rolled across the sky like a voice too large to be ignored. Filming stopped. Again, everyone took shelter. Anna sat in her trailer with the door slightly open. Watching the rain, Keanu appeared, holding 2 paper cups of coffee. He handed her one without a word and sat, beside her in the doorway. They watched the rain together, their feet barely touching the ground. Then Anna spoke, voice quiet. "You asked if I wanted to speak. I think I do now." Keanu didn't move. "Just listen," Anna continued. "I used to smile even when I was falling apart. I thought if I smiled enough, no one would worry. I didn't want to be a burden. I thought that was strength." Keanu nodded. Slowly. "A lot of people think that." Anna looked at her reflection in the coffee, but it started to hurt. Like every smile was something I owed instead of something I gave. She turned to him, eyes full of something raw, not sadness, not fear, something honest. "You made space for me to stop smiling." Keanu looked at her gently, "And you made space for others to feel safe doing the same." Anna leaned her head against the trailer frame, sighing deeply. "I still miss my brother every second." "Of course," Keanu said, "but now I feel like I'm allowed to feel that, without apology." He looked out at the rain again. "Grief and joy live in the same house. Most people don't know that. But you're learning." She turned toward him, smiling. A real smile. A soft one. Not for the cameras, not for the world, just for this moment. "How do you always know the right thing to say?" she asked. Keanu chuckled. "I don't, but I try to say only what's true." They sat there, listening to the storm. The kind of silence that feels like a hug. The kind of silence that doesn't ask for anything, the kind of silence that heals. When the silence became light a few weeks passed, the set moved at its own rhythm now, slower, more human, laughed softer, listened better. When Anna stepped onto the lot each morning, she no longer walked with her head low or her shoulders curled in. Something inside her had changed, not loudly, not suddenly, but gently, like morning light creeping through closed curtains. On this day, something special was happening. It was the final scene of the film. The crew had been preparing for weeks. The ending was delicate, emotional. It was a quiet goodbye between two characters who had shared something beautiful, yet painful. No explosions, no grand music. Just a farewell at a train station, filled with things left unsaid. Anna stood in costume near the platform set, her fingers running over the pages of the final script. She had read it a dozen times. But now, she saw it differently. Keanu walked over. His suit was perfectly pressed, hair neat, expression thoughtful. "You ready?" he asked. Anna looked up. "I think so." He smiled softly. "Me too." Day stepped into position. The crew went silent. The camera rolled. Anna turned toward Keanu's character. Her eyes welled slightly, but she didn't force the emotion. She let it arrive, just as it always had, honest and unannounced. "Thank you," she whispered in the scene. Keanu single quotes his character smiled faintly. "You taught me how to feel again." Anna stepped forward and gently touched his arm. "You waited for me, even when I didn't know how to come back." The director held his breath. The silence stretched beautifully. Then Keanu replied, voice like wind in autumn leaves, "And I'd wait again." Cut. No one moved. The moment lingered like perfume in the air, soft, unforgettable. The director finally exhaled. "That's it, that's the one." As the crew clapped quietly, Keanu and Anna didn't move right away. They just stood there, still inside the moment, knowing it had been more than just acting. After wrap, a small celebration was held near the soundstage. People toasted, laughed, hugged. Anna stood quietly by the catering table. Holding a paper plate of cake she hadn't touched, Keanu approached, holding a gift. A small wrapped box, plain brown paper, tied with black string. "For you," he said simply. Anna opened it carefully. Inside was a photo frame, and in it, the note she had written him weeks ago. "Thank you for sitting with me yesterday. That meant more than I can say." Beneath it, he had added his own note. "Thank you for teaching me that sometimes the bravest thing a person can do is let themselves be seen." Anna didn't speak for a long moment. Her throat tightened. "I thought I was alone when I was falling apart," she whispered. Keanu shook his head gently. "You weren't. You were just quiet. And the world's not always good at listening to quiet things." She smiled through her tears. "But you listened." Nodded. Because silence isn't empty. It's full of what we carry. They stood in silence again. But this one was different. Not heavy. Not aching. This silence was light. Soft, like music with no notes. Anna placed the framed notes on the makeup table in her trailer the next day. She left it there, even after the movie wrapped, even after the crew packed up. It stayed behind like a memory that didn't need to be loud to be meaningful. And when she flew back to Madrid, Xavi met her at the airport. He ran into her arms, healthier, stronger. She told him everything. About the shoot. About the tears. About the man who waited quietly by her trailer one morning and didn't leave. Xavi laughed. So, Keanu Reeves is your real-life guardian angel? Anna smiled. Maybe. Or maybe just someone who never forgot how to be human. And that night, when the sky outside their house filled with stars, Anna sat by the window with her mother. Sharing tea, she looked up at the night and whispered one final thought. Sometimes, a person doesn't save you by fixing your pain. Sometimes, they just sit beside it and remind you that you're not broken for feeling it. And somewhere, back in Los Angeles, Keanu walked past the now quiet trailer one last time. He paused, looked at the empty step where he once waited all day, then smiled and walked on.